I've seen fortunes made and lost in a single trading day. I've watched strong men crumble under the weight of their own greed. And yes, I was one of them. There was a time when I thought I could predict the market. Charts, numbers, patterns. I lived inside them. But the market doesn't move for your logic. It moves for your discipline. Every time I tried to outsmart it, it reminded me who was in control. Not the trader, not the ticker, but human nature. Fear and greed dancing behind every candle, every spike, every crash. I wasn't just trading prices. I was trading my own emotions. And that's the untold truth no one wants to face. You can't master the market until you master yourself. People called me reckless. They said I took impossible risks. But what they never understood was this. My biggest trades weren't made on instinct. They were made on pattern recognition and emotional control. When the crowd panicked, I watched. When they celebrated, I waited. Because real money isn't made in excitement, it's made in silence. I've lived through the panic of 1907, the wild bull runs of the 1920s, and the despair of the Great Crash. And every time I learned the same law. Markets change, technology evolves, but human behavior, that never changes. That's the secret behind every big market move. It's not in the chart. It's in the mindset of those reading it. You think trading is about prediction? It's not. It's about preparation. When everyone else looks for signals, I look for weakness, in myself and in the market. That's how you catch the turn before it happens. The difference between winning and losing isn't knowledge. It's emotional control. And once you learn to see through the noise, the market becomes your mirror, showing you not what's next, but who you are. If you want to master your trading mind, not just your charts, you're in the right place. Welcome to Jesse Livermore Academy, where classic Wall Street wisdom meets modern trading reality. Here, you'll learn the untold methods I use to read crowd behavior, manage risk, and ride the biggest moves before they happened. Subscribe now, and begin your journey to trade like a professional, think like a speculator, and win like Livermore. You think trading is about charts, don't you? Lines, candles, indicators, patterns. You stare at them until your eyes burn, believing that one perfect setup will finally make you rich. I thought the same. In my early days, I believed the market was a puzzle, and if I could just crack the code, I'd never lose again. But the market doesn't reward logic, it rewards discipline, and I had none. I chased every breakout. I jumped in too early. I held too long. Every tick against me felt personal, like the market was mocking me. When the tape moved fast, my pulse moved faster. When the crowd screamed, "Buy," I couldn't resist joining them. It felt powerful, until it didn't. One day you'll learn this. The crowd always loses first. You think you're acting smart, but you're only reacting. You buy when it feels safe. You sell when it feels scary. That's not strategy. That's emotion wearing a suit. I remember my first big loss. It wasn't just money that disappeared. It was confidence, sleep, sanity. I told myself it was a temporary drawdown. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't trading the market. I was trading revenge. You know that feeling, don't you? You lose a trade, and you can't rest until you win it back. You add more size, take more risk, convince yourself you're in control. But the more you push, the deeper you sink. That's the market's cruelest trick. It turns your emotions into its profit. Back then, I'd sit in the bucket shops of Boston, watching the ticker roll. Every flicker felt like fate. When prices rose, I felt like a genius. When they fell, I blamed bad luck. But the truth was simpler. I didn't have a system. I had hope. And hope is the most expensive position you can hold. I lost, not because I didn't understand the market, but because I didn't understand myself. That's the moment every trader faces sooner or later. The day you realize your biggest enemy isn't volatility. It's you. So ask yourself this. Are you really trading the market? Or are you just trading your emotions again and again, waiting for luck to save you? I learned that lesson the hard way. But it was the lesson that changed everything. Because the day you stop trying to beat the market and start learning to control yourself. That's the day your real trading journey begins. It took me years to realize this. The market doesn't punish bad trades. It punishes weak minds. You can have the best strategy in the world, perfect entries, perfect exits. But if your emotions are out of control, you'll lose everything. I used to think trading was about prediction. Now I know it's about control. Control of your impulses, control of your greed, control of the voice that whispers, just one more trade, when you should stop. The market is a mirror. It shows you exactly who you are: impatient, fearful, greedy, or disciplined. Every candle, every pullback, every rally is a reflection of your own psychology. And if you don't understand that, you'll never understand price action. I've seen traders with no experience turn a small account into a fortune. Not because they were smarter, but because they were colder. They didn't chase every move. They didn't argue with the trend. They didn't fight their own emotions. Meanwhile, the rest of us, myself included, kept trying to outthink the market instead of out-disciplining it. I learned this the hard way. You don't trade the market. You trade your belief about the market. When that belief is rooted in ego, you'll bleed. When it's rooted in logic and patience, you'll grow. There was a day. I still remember it. I watched a stock skyrocket while I sat on the sidelines. My mind screamed, "You're missing out." But my discipline whispered, "Wait." Hours later, that same stock crashed harder than it climbed. And that day, I finally understood what most traders never do. Discipline isn't waiting. It's knowing when not to act. You can't control the market, but you can control yourself. And that's the only edge that never fades. Because in the end, trading success isn't about prediction. It's about psychological mastery. And that's where the real wealth begins. You see, discipline isn't about waiting. It's about knowing when not to act. Most traders think patience means doing nothing. But in truth, patience is a position. Every time you resist the urge to chase, you're protecting your capital and your mind. I learned that silence in trading is not weakness. It's strength in disguise. The biggest profits I ever made came from the trades I didn't take. Because the market rewards clarity, not chaos. And clarity only comes to the trader who can sit still when the crowd can't breathe. You don't need to predict every move. You just need to avoid the moves that destroy you. When you stop forcing trades, you start seeing them. When you stop reacting, you start reading. That's when the noise fades, and the market finally speaks. And if you're quiet enough to listen, you'll hear it whisper the same lesson it whispered to me. Patience is profit. In 1907, the market broke, and so did most men's courage. I was 29, young, reckless, and sitting in a brokerage room that smelled of fear. The ticker tape spat numbers like bullets, and every one of them was aimed at someone's fortune. The Great Panic had begun. Prices collapsed faster than anyone could react. Banks were on the edge of ruin. Men shouted, cursed, begged the tape to stop. But the market doesn't listen. It devours. I'd been watching the signs for weeks. Stocks were rising too fast, too easily. Volume was exploding, but conviction was dying. I knew what was coming. A collapse driven by emotion, not logic. So while the crowd bought the top, I waited. When the panic hit, I didn't panic with them. I shorted everything I could. As prices fell, I felt something strange. Not excitement, not greed, but clarity. Every crash, every scream, every falling number proved one thing. Fear is the most predictable pattern in the market. I wasn't trading numbers that day. I was trading human emotion. And for the first time in my career, I wasn't part of the crowd. I was outside it, watching it unfold like a storm I had prepared for. When others were losing sleep, I was sleeping fine. Because I had already made peace with my plan. No noise, no fear, just discipline. By the time the market bottomed, fortunes had vanished. But I stood apart. Not because I was lucky, but because I finally understood what most traders never do. You don't make big money in the buying or the selling. You make it in the waiting. The newspapers called me the boy plunger. They said I made millions in a panic. But the truth is, I didn't make money from the market. I made it from understanding human nature. When the dust settled, I walked through Wall Street in silence. Men who once bragged about their wins now whispered about survival. It was the same story told 1,000 times. The market didn't destroy them. Their emotions did. That day, I learned something no chart can teach. The market's greatest secret isn't in its movements. It's in your reactions to them. And that single realization would guide every trade I made from that day forward. I used to believe I could control the market. I thought my skill, my timing, my instinct would bend it in my favor. But years of trading taught me the truth. The market controls nothing. It only reflects what's inside you. Every candle you watch, every tick you chase, every stop you move, isn't about the market's behavior. It's about your reaction to it. You see, fear and greed aren't emotions. They're triggers. Fear makes you exit too soon. Greed makes you hold too long. Both are signals that you've lost control. I've been there. I've sat in silence, staring at a screen that refused to move my way. My palms sweating, heart pounding, mind racing with a single thought. Maybe if I just hold a little longer? That maybe has destroyed more traders than any crash in history. You think you're fighting the market, but you're fighting yourself. Every time you break your rules, the market wins. Every time you act on impulse, you pay tuition to the school of pain. Trading is the only profession where doing less can make you more. But most can't handle that truth. Because deep down, you want action. You want movement. You crave the adrenaline. That's how the market traps you. It feeds your emotions until you mistake excitement for opportunity. I remember the nights I couldn't sleep after a loss. Not because of the money, but because of the shame. I'd question everything. My method, my system, my worth. But the problem was never the market. It was my ego. Ego tells you to double down after a loss. Ego tells you to prove the market wrong. Ego whispers, "You're better than the crowd." And then, it wipes you out. You want to win? Then start where no one else looks. Inside your mind. When you learn to detach from emotion, you become dangerous. When you stop chasing every candle, you start seeing the trend. When you stop needing to trade, you finally start trading right. The secret isn't in predicting the next move. It's in mastering the next reaction. The day you conquer your emotions, the market stops being an opponent and becomes your mirror. Here's how you train your mind, the way I trained mine. Forget the noise, the flashing screens, the indicators that promise magic. Your first edge isn't your system, it's your self-control. You want to master trading? Then start with these 3 rules. Rule 1. Control your state. Before you control your trade. Before you press that button, stop and ask yourself, am I calm or am I chasing? If you feel pressure, if your heart rate spikes, you're not trading the chart, you're trading emotion. I learned to pause before every trade. Deep breath, steady focus. No emotion. Because the calm trader always beats the desperate one. Markets reward composure. Every second you hesitate in chaos, someone calmer takes your money. Rule 2. Trade less, observe more. Most traders lose not because they don't know what to do, but because they do too much. You don't need 20 trades a day. You need 1 trade with conviction. When you watch the market like a hunter instead of a gambler, patterns reveal themselves. The tape whispers clues only the patient can hear. I used to sit for hours doing nothing, and that nothing made me millions. Because sometimes, waiting is a position. Rule 3. Build discipline. Like a muscle, discipline isn't a mindset, it's a habit. Every time you follow your plan, it grows stronger. Every time you break it, it weakens. You can't fake consistency. You have to earn it. 1 trade, 1 rule, 1 day at a time. I still wrote my trades by hand. Not to record profits, but to record my behavior. Because trading isn't a financial journey. It's a psychological mirror. You want an edge in modern markets? It's not found in algorithms, setups, or secret indicators. It's found in discipline, the same principle that guided me over a century ago. When you master your emotions, your strategy becomes clear. When you master your discipline, your confidence becomes unshakable. And when you master your mind, you don't chase trades anymore. You attract them. Tell me, what breaks your discipline faster? Fear or greed? Be honest. Because every trader has a weakness, and until you name it, it owns you. Maybe it's fear. That moment when the market dips and you exit too soon, only to watch the price shoot right back up. You call it playing safe, but deep down, you know it was fear talking. Or maybe it's greed. That quiet whisper saying, hold it a little longer. You ignore your plan, break your rules, and give back everything you earned. I've done both. And so have you. Here's the truth. The market doesn't punish your mistakes. It punishes your emotions. So, ask yourself, when was the last time you followed your plan exactly the way you wrote it? No hesitation, no impulse, just logic. Comment below. Is it fear that beats you, or greed? Because awareness is your first edge. And if you can admit where you fall, you're already one step ahead of 90% of traders out there. I've learned that the hardest trade you'll ever make is the one against your own emotions. You can study charts, memorize patterns, even predict moves. But if you can't control yourself, none of it matters. The market doesn't reward prediction. It rewards discipline. Every tick, every crash, every rally. It's not testing your skill. It's testing your mind. I've lost everything. I've built it back. And through it all, one truth remained. The greatest trade is the one you make with yourself. So if this message hits home, don't let it fade. Subscribe, stay, and learn to master your trading mind. Because the market will always tempt you, but discipline will always save you. Welcome to Jesse Livermore Academy, where your greatest profit begins within.